Welcome everyone to the Omniverse of Nick and part 6 to What If Casey Becker Survived, hashtag the semi-final parts. Now, before we get into today's video, just want to be sure to tell you guys to smash that like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick so you can help me make this channel bigger, better, and get more awesome stories pumping out to you guys, and just generally supporting the friggin' channel because there are plenty more awesome stories where besides this one and the ones that I've already done, so you definitely don't want to miss out on that stuff. Also check out memberships. Anyway, let's get into it. Last time we got into the fact we're getting into Scream 4 territory. Now, the opening scene goes as you would expect. And Sydney and her boss slash writer slash, I forget what specifically role she has, but it really didn't matter, now did it? Rebecca Walters. That's all you really need to know. Anyway, Randy is doing good, to get on to other characters, and making a living off of his horror knowledge and all of his knowledge about the horror trope and living up to what Tatum would want and everything. Casey and Derek are officially a thing, and Casey, she's doing good, much better than she would have ever thought possible, especially being around Derek. That is until the whole opening kill thing happens in Sydney's car and the whole crime scene. And Casey's getting that PTSD vibe and just remembering her past, and it's like it never goes away. Because Casey, like I've said before, is officially the Sidney Prescott of this story, being the one who's been through more. Even if Sydney's been through a lot, even in this story, Casey's been through pretty much more. You know what I'm saying? So it's more or less about her, and she's just around, and the press isn't helping the situation, trying to get all up in her grill. We get introduced to Jill Roberts, Kirby, and Olivia, and all of them people. Judy and Gail have their whole thing, you know, lover quarrel, more or less. Well, Judy was never a lover to Dewey, but you get what I mean. Then we get to the pretty much whole movie going exactly the same, besides a few extra interactions, until we get to Olivia's kill, or what would be the kill now. The door busts open to Derek saving Olivia's life and attacking Ghostface and pretty much saving Olivia from getting maimed like she did, with Sydney going over as fast as she can to help out, with Casey in tow, because it's her lover, Derek. Meanwhile, Derek is able to fend off Ghostface, but he isn't exactly winning either. This Ghostface is much stronger, seemingly, than the likes of Mickey and Mrs. Loomis. Meanwhile, Casey, unbeknownst to Sydney, gets captured by a second Ghostface. But Sydney doesn't see this happen because this Ghostface was being real sneaky. And she just continues to go on to save Derek. And Derek is able to fight off Ghostface still, but tells Olivia to literally get the F out of there because he doesn't know if he can fully fight this Ghostface off. Meanwhile, Casey, with the other second Ghostface, is stabbed straight near the neck. And the Ghostface that was fighting off Derek, he begins to get invigorated with more strength, and Derek gets stabbed in the leg and then stabbed in the neck. Promptly killed Derek. Casey can just hear Derek's screams and just cries out. But the other Ghostface just pushes her against the wall after stabbing her near the neck. Stabs one hand, stabs the other hand, and then pretty much stabs, since the knives are through both of her hands, stabs the knives straight into the wall as hard as the Ghostface can, promptly sticking Casey to the wall with both her hands. And then Olivia's killed trying to get away. The other cops get in, and the whole scene is pretty much played out as you expect, with the other two ghost faces, now the both of them, getting away, and Jill coming up with the clever excuse, because we know who the killers are at Scream 4 territory. And she has to come up with a very clever lie, since this was really close to messing up their plans. Casey, all she can do is cry out. Not only did her past come back to bite her, but it got her new lover Derek killed after so long of them being together, longer than Steve. And Sydney can do nothing but just feel really, really bad for Casey. But Casey quickly goes from sad to furious. She had been with Derek for so long, thought she finally had a life. And then this happens and her past is pretty much coming back to bite her. And she says the next time she sees a ghost face, nothing is going to stop her from killing that ghost face. Sydney, she's really proud of how Casey's grown. Later on, she fires Rebecca, and Rebecca is promptly killed. And after that, we then get to the classroom scene of Charlie, Robbie, and Gail meeting up, with Randy being there, and promptly telling everybody that Billy, Stu, and Roman, they were pretty much trying to rewrite the first horror movie that Billy and Stu were doing. So in all actuality, they could be looking at a third horror movie at the ending of a trilogy, since, Mrs. Loomis and Mickey did the second one. And Randy says about the rules of a third horror movie, and this really resonates with Charlie. I mean, sure, he is a killer through and through with Jill, but all of Randy's talk and everything and his knowledge, it's actually sitting with Charlie and changing him a little. It's not going to go good or anything, but it is changing him up. Later on, Casey is barely flinched from the injuries and is at the party in the barn whenever Gail gets attacked. And Randy is there also, talking with Charlie, and all of them talking about horror movies, and Randy basically speaking his piece and his philosophy. And this is really hitting with Charlie. But through and through with Jill, he still is the killer through and through with her, and eventually does still put on the mask. It's obvious that he was the ghost face in that situation. So eventually he does not injure Gail as badly as he did, but Dewey still comes to rescue her and save the day. And Charlie, through and through, he just runs. He doesn't do as much damage as he did, and he just runs for the most part. But not before getting attacked by Casey, because she did say that the next time that she saw a ghost face, she would kill that ghost face. She doesn't care, nor does she know who this ghost face is, nor does she care to. And even though he wanted to avoid being a monster too much, and Randy's philosophy hit with him, this does hit Charlie pretty hard and get him back into that killer mode. And while he's fighting Casey, Dewey goes over and helps Casey by shooting at Charlie, forcing Charlie to either run or get cover. But Dewey and Casey don't get the upper hand for very long, as Dewey is stabbed for the first time in this story by the second Ghostface who arrives on the scene. And that second Ghostface then stabs Casey in a different spot to which she was, or the same spot, it really wouldn't matter. Point is, she's stabbed near the neck, and the other Ghostface approaches Casey with murderous intent, obviously, and goes to stab Casey again, right in the leg. But even if this Ghostface did, this Casey is strong, and murderous thoughts are going through Casey's head. This is a fighter we're talking about. Much more so, or even on the same level so, as Sydney, and kicks Ghostface square in the face, dropping this Ghostface to the ground, taking off the mask, and revealing Jill Roberts. And Casey, she just cannot believe her eyes. Another family member, and it's Sydney? Sydney's family member? She just can't believe the bad luck streak and everything that's come her way. Jill just grabs the gun and just, screw it at this point, and reveals her intent and Charlie's and the whole deal about getting famous and everything. And this just really infuriates Casey, but they can't do anything right now. Not yet, at least until they get backup or something. It's just the few of them. And Charlie, this gives him a sense of reinvigoration. But then he gets promptly knifed in the heart by Jill, revealing Jill's intent to remain a sole survivor and get the popularity for herself, you know, her whole deal, which really was a really big betrayal in my opinion, sort of. But all in all, Jill is now alone, but she's not scared. She still aims the gun at all of them, seeing like a chance for victory and pretty much thinking she wins. But not before 2 gunshots ring out. One hitting Jill in the heart, and the other hitting her in the head, definitely killing her. And yeah, this ends Scream 4 very early. It's kind of a trope in this story. The one being from Sydney, and the other from Cotton Weary. Now, how did this happen? How is Cotton here? How did Sydney get to him? Well, we haven't seen him since pretty much Scream 2's villain arc, and 8 years before Scream 4. You know that whole deal in the last episode? And we haven't seen Cotton Weary since, but we knew that he was alive in this story for some time. You see, after the whole attack in the house, Sydney felt like they needed help. And who better to ask than the old person that she wrongly put in jail and that whole deal and everything else. And Cotton Weary has lived a great life for the longest time and says that he is more than willing to help Sydney out, but then talks about a Diane Sawyer interview, sorry about that, and brings up the past and everything, because I don't feel that that interview would have happened. It might have, but even if it didn't, Sydney would be more than down for it, and their friendship would have grown immensely. Anyways, after that, and Scream 4 being over, survivors. The 2 officers are alive that were killed here. Randy is obviously alive, and Casey is still alive, but she is injured. More than Gail, but regardless, they're both in the hospital just to recover, obviously, because any knife wound near the neck or how Gail had it, they'd need to go to the hospital. And Kirby is not stabbed here. We know she survived in Scream 6. But even if she's not, I still feel that Kirby would become an FBI agent. So yeah, Cotton Weary is alive, along with Robbie and Trevor. So we have some extra survivors in that department. And Trevor would be very sad to hear that Jill became a killer and all that. Now we're getting into Scream 5 territory. Now, how will the whole deal with Scream 5 go? How will Casey's future lead her in? How will future survivors that we have here fit into this and Scream 6 territory going near the finale of this story?
Why am I asking you all these questions?
Find out in the next episode on the Omniverse of Nick. You guys didn't think this was the end of the video, did you? Well, the Omniverse of Nick has a new feature. A sneak peek at what's next to arrive.